one. And my name is Alastair Daniels, and I'm going to start with a European story, a story that's based on one from the Brothers Grimm. It's a mixture of the Brothers Grimm and one from Charles Perrault, French story. So this is going to be my story of snakes and pearls, and this is how I will tell it to you. Once, long ago, there was a farm, and the farm was a beautiful, was on beautiful land where anything would grow. Oh, the farmer, she was lucky to have such land. I say she, because it was a woman, her husband had died, and so she had to farm alone. Actually, that's wrong. She didn't have to farm alone, because she had two sons. And her sons obviously did a lot of the work on the farm. That's wrong too, actually, because only one of the sons worked on the farm, Jan. The son, Jan, he did everything. He did the ploughing, he did the sowing, he did the gathering in of the crops, he maintained the farm, he painted the woodwork on the house, he cleaned the house, he cleaned the toilet, he did everything. And his brother Jack did nothing except sit around and get served tea by his mother. These two brothers looked as close as peas in a pod. They looked so alike, but they were very different in their temperament, in how they behaved in the world, and they were very different in how their mother treated them. Now, I've listed all the jobs that Jan had to do, but the worst job, actually, the one he hated more than anything else, was getting water from the well. And one day, he went to get water from the well, and he had his bucket, and he put his bucket on the hook, and he lowered the bucket down into the well. The water was lower than usual, so he had to let the bucket go down a long way. Splosh! It landed in the water. But as he tried to pull the bucket up, it seemed to get stuck. It seemed to be heavy. And then the bucket was pulling down into the water, which meant, because the rope went up from the bucket over the well and into his hands, he was being pulled over the edge of the well, and Jan found himself pulled over the edge of the well, and down, down, down he went into the well, landing in the cold, dark waters of the well, which swallowed him. But when he opened his eyes, he found he wasn't in the water of the well at all. He was standing on dry land. He was standing on a land where the grass was very green, where the flowers were very brightly coloured, where the sky was really blue. This was not the land that he had left. He was in the land of the fair folk. We will not say their name. The problem is, if you say their name, the danger is they might come to you. So we will just call them the fair folk. He stood up and started to walk. And as he walked, he found his legs getting heavier. And he found himself getting more and more tired and wanting to sit down. And so he saw a tree, and he sat under the tree to rest. And as he looked up into the tree, he saw the tree was covered in fruit, but not apples or oranges or pears. The fruit of this tree were books. And as he sat under the tree, he heard the tree say, "Oh, please, please help me. I am so heavy with the words of the books. Please pluck a book from my branches and read the words, so the weight of the words will be lifted from me." So Jan stood up and looked up and plucked a book from the tree. It was an encyclopedia. It was one volume from an encyclopedia. It was from the letter S to the letter T. And he opened it, and it started with the River Saal. And he started to read about the River Saal. And then he read the next part, and the next part, and the next part. And the sun went up and over the sky. And he still kept reading, because it was an encyclopedia. He had reached T by the time the sun went down. And he was still reading T, the letter T, as the moon went over the sky. And as the moon went down and the sun came up, he came to the final entry, the River Tyne. And so he read about the River Tyne, and then he yawned, and the tree said to him, "Oh, thank you. Because you have read all those words, I no longer have the weight of them. Thank you. So let me help you. Follow the path. Follow the path that leads away from the way you have come, and that path will take you home." So, off went Jan, leaving the book by the side, and thanking the tree as he went. And off he went, and as he walked, he saw in the distance that the road was splitting into two. One way went left and one way went right. And standing between the two roads at the junction, there was a sheep. And as he got closer, he noticed that the sheep was heavy with wool. Now, do you remember which encyclopedia he'd read? From the letter S to the letter T? So he'd read all about sheep. And he'd read all about shearing. And he knew that sheep should be shorn once a year at least, and this sheep looked like it had the wool of at least 5 years on its back. And as he came closer to the sheep, it said, "Oh, please, sir, help me. I have not been shorn for 5 years, and the wool is so heavy upon me. Please shear me, sir." So Jan, who was a kind young man, saw that there was a pair of shears next to the sheep, so he lifted the shears and he snip, 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 sheared the sheep. And as he sheared the sheep's wool, it fell like pure snow on the ground. And up in the land that he had come from, in the land on which his mother's farm sat, it started to snow, and the snow landed on the ground and laid there. The sheep said, "Oh, sir, thank you so much. I feel so much lighter. Now I must help you. Take the path to the left, and you will find your way home." So Jan thanked the sheep, and off he went down the path to his left. And as he was walking down the path to his left, he saw walking towards him an old woman. Now, the weather, I told you that everything was very bright. The grass was bright, the flowers were bright, the sky was bright, the weather was hot. And this poor old woman looked very hot indeed. She was struggling to walk because it was so warm. And Jan went up to her and said, "Oh, mother, is everything all right? Is there anything I can do for you?" And she said, "Oh, my boy, it is such a hot day. A little further down the path there is a well. If you could get me some water from the well, I would be so grateful." So Jan, who was a kind young man, walked past the old woman, went down the path until he came to a well. There was a bucket hanging on the well, and he lowered the bucket down into the water and pulled it back up and took not just a little water for the old woman to drink, but a full bucket of water. And he went back to her, and then he gave her some of the water to drink, cupping it in his hands. And then he washed the old woman's hands, and then he washed her feet. And when she seemed to be much calmer and much healthier, he said to her, "Do you feel better, mother?" And she said, "Oh, my boy, you have been so helpful, and now I must help you. You have already found the well. Go back to the well, and when you find the well, I think you will know how to get home the same way that you got here." So Jan thanked her, and off he went back to the well. He looked over the well down into the darkness where he knew water was at the bottom, but he believed the old woman, so he sat on the wall of the well, pulled his legs over, sat on the edge of the well, and then dropped. Down, down, down he went, into the well, splush, into the dark water, and the dark water closed over him. And when he opened his eyes, he was back home. And it was cold, and he was leaning over the edge of the well at home, the edge of the well that was covered in snow. The farm was covered in snow, and standing watching him come out of the well, wrapped in furs because it was so cold, was his mother. And she said to him, "Where have you been?" And he said, "Oh, mother, such stories I have to tell." But as he said, "Oh, mother, such stories I have to tell," from his lips fell pearls, and they fell into the snow, shining in the winter sun. His mother rushed over to him as he got out of the well and stood next to her, looking at the well. She said, looking at the pearls, she said, "Where did they come from?" And he said, "I don't know." And as he said, "I don't know," with every word from his lips, a pearl fell on the ground. His mother picked up the pearls and looked in her hands, and every time her son spoke to her, a pearl fell from his lip for every word. And when he told her the story of how he'd gone down the well, how he'd taken a book from the tree, how he'd met the sheep and shorn the sheep, how he'd met the old lady, how he'd got the water for the old lady and then gone back down the well and come home, by the time he'd finished, there was a pile of beautiful, perfect pearls. And his mother thought, if Jan can speak pearls, then so can Jack. And if both my sons speak pearls, then I will be rich. So she called her son Jack. She told him what had happened to Jan and told him to go down the well. Jack looked over the well and said, "Are you insane? Me, go down there?" And she said to her son, "Jack, go down that well now. Go and find the tree, read the book, find the sheep, cut the wool, find the old woman, and then go down the well. And then you will speak pearls, and we shall be rich." So Jack sat on the edge of the well. He swung his legs over. He looked down into the darkness. He held his nose. He closed his eyes. And he jumped down, down, down. He went into the dark waters. The dark waters covered him. And when he opened his eyes, he found he was on dry land. And the grass was really green. The flowers were very colourful. And the blue of the sky was amazing. But he had a job to do. So he left where he was standing and walked along the path towards a tree. And as he got closer to the tree, he could see the tree was covered in fruit, but not pears or oranges or apples. The fruits were books. So he went up to the tree, and he said to the tree, "Hello, tree!" And the tree said, "Oh, I am so heavy with the weight of words. Please pick a book from me." And Jack said, "I know all that. Just let me pick a book." And he picked a book, and it was an encyclopedia. Well, part of an encyclopedia. It was from the letters S to T. And the tree said, "Oh, please read it for me, so that the weight of words will be lifted from me." And Jack sat down under the tree and opened it and read the entry on the River Saal, which really wasn't that interesting. And then he read the next one. What you know about Jack so far, do you think Jack read the whole of an encyclopedia? Well, one volume from an encyclopedia. Well, the sun went across the sky and went down. The moon went across the sky and went down. And when the sun came up in the morning, Jack had read no more than the entry of the River Saal and a few pages after that. The tree said, "But you have not read all of the words. I still feel their weight." And Jack said, "Oh, I don't care about that. Just tell me to follow the path." So the tree said, "Then follow the path. But I fear you will not have the memories of the knowledge you need." And Jack said, "I don't care." And off he went. And as he walked, he came to a fork in the road, one road going left, one road going right, and standing in the middle was a sheep. Of course, it just looked like a sheep to him. Of course, he lived on a farm, but remember, he did none of the work, and he hadn't read the encyclopedia, which was from S to T, so he didn't know anything about sheep, and certainly didn't know that they needed to be shorn at least once a year, and didn't realize that this sheep was wearing at least 5 years' worth of wool. And the sheep said, "Oh, please, sir, help me, sir. I am wearing the weight of 5 years of wool, for I have not been shorn. Please help me and shear me." Jack looked down at the shears. He picked up the shears and went, "Snip, snip." He said, "That'll do." And the sheep said, "But you haven't shorn me." And Jack said, "That's enough. Just tell me which way to go. Tell me to go down the left-hand path." And so the sheep said, "Take the left-hand path." So off went Jack, and he walked down the left-hand path, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. But no old woman came walking towards him. He sat down by the side of the road and put his head in his hands and sighed and tutted and groaned, "Oh!" And then he heard the sound of horses' hooves. And coming along the path towards him was not an old lady, but a beautiful black horse. And riding the black horse was a beautiful woman dressed in silks. And she rode up to Jack and said, "Young man, it is such a hot day, and I am wearing these silks, and they are heavy. Will you go to the well that is nearby and bring me some water to drink?" And Jack said, "Why don't you go and get the water yourself? Why should I go and get water for you?" And she said, "Well, I just thought that you might like to help a stranger." And Jack said, "Well, oh, all right then." So off he stomped, and he stomped until he found the well. There was a bucket. He lowered the bucket into the well. He pulled the bucket back. It wasn't full. There was a little bit of water at the bottom of the bucket. He went back to the woman on the horse and said, "Here, there you are, there's some water." And she took the bucket and she put her fingers in the little bit of water that was at the bottom of the bucket, and she wet her lips. And she said, "Thank you for your kindness." And Jack said to her, "Well, I hope I get my reward." And she looked down at him and she said, "Oh yes, you'll get your reward." And off she rode. Jack knew what he had to do to go home. So he walked back to the well, he sat on the edge, he put his legs over the edge of the well, he held his nose, he closed his eyes, and he fell down, down, down into the well, down into the cold, dark waters which closed over him. And when he opened his eyes, he was on the edge of the well at home. But there was no snow now, just dark, heavy clouds hanging over the farm. And the whole farm was in shadow. But his mother was there waiting, and she saw him and she said, "Where have you been?" And as he pulled himself out of the well, Jack said, "Don't talk to me." As he said, "Don't talk to me," from his lips, snakes fell to the ground and slithered away. "Where did they come from?" said his mother. "I don't know," said Jack. And as he said, "I don't know," More snakes fell from his lips, one poisonous reptile for each word he spoke. He told his mother that he had gone down the well, that he had taken the book from the tree, and that he had cut the sheep's wool, and that he didn't meet the old woman, he met the beautiful woman on the horse. And his mother said, "Oh, you fool! It was the same person! It was the same member of the fair folk, and you are now cursed by her." And by the time her son had told her everything he wanted to say, the floor of the farm was a writhing mass of snakes. Well, what about Jan? Jan didn't want to stay in a home where the words of his brother were poisonous like snakes. And so he left, and left his mother to her son with his words of poison. And Jan went walking, trying to find a place where other people spoke like him, with words that carried such beauty. They were like pearls falling to the ground. And who knows, perhaps he is still walking today. And perhaps he will come to your town. And if you and the other people in your town speak to him in words that shine like pearls, maybe he'll stay with you and share his pearls with you. And that's the story of snakes and pearls. And that's how I have told it to you. How are we doing? Oh, okay. I'm going to go to the north of Europe. We've done a bit of heat, talking about getting hot and needing water. We're going to go to the north to a Scandinavian story that a lot of people will know. And this story is about animals who eat grass. Louis, what animals eat grass?
Cows.
Cows eat grass. Any more?
Sheep.
Sorry?
Sheep.
Sheep eat grass. But there's an animal that's a bit like a sheep that eats grass, but it's not a sheep. And those animals are goats. Now, if you were a goat, would you want to eat grass that was this colour? Or would you want to eat grass that was this colour? Now, if the grass is yellow, that means the grass is dead and dry and crispy. If the grass is green, that means it's moist and luscious and tasty. And of course, this family of goats lived on a hill where the grass was dry and yellow and dead. And one day, the littlest of the goats was eating the grass. Meh, yuck, meh, disgusting. And he saw the green grass on the other side of the hill. And so down the hill of dry grass he went, diddly, 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 dee. When he came to the bottom of the hill, he had to go over a bridge. And as he went over the bridge, his hooves made a noise, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. Now, a lot of you will know this story and know who lived under the bridge. It was a troll. And the troll came out, and the troll said, do you speak troll language? No? No one here speaks troll language. Louis, you don't speak troll. No, you don't speak troll. I will translate for you. The troll said, which means, shh, please could you be quiet? I'm trying to get some sleep. But the goat, of course, didn't understand troll language either, and he said, "Oh, sir, you want to eat me? Please, sir, don't eat me. Wait for my brother. He's bigger and tastier than me." And over the bridge he went, trip, trap, and up the hill with the green grass he went, diddly, 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 where he ate the green, moist, luscious grass. Meh, delicious. Now, of course, I did say it was a family, so on the other side of the hill, where the grass was dead and dry and yellow, there was his brother. And he was eating the rather disgusting grass. Meh, yuck, meh, disgusting, meh, puh, 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 puh. But then he saw the green grass on the other side of the valley, and so down the hill he went, diddly, 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 diddly. He went across the bridge, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap. And as he went across the bridge, he woke up the troll. And the troll came out and said, which is troll language. And it means, "I did have words with your brother. Please, I have to work during the night time. Could you be quiet during the day?" But of course the goat didn't understand the troll, and the goat said, "Oh, please, sir, you want to eat me. Please, sir, don't eat me. Wait for my brother. He's bigger and tastier than me." And the troll watched as the billy goat went across the bridge, trip, trap, up the other side on the green grass, diddly, 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 and ate the grass. Meh, yum, meh, delicious. Well, I think you can guess who's on the other side. On the side with the dry, crispy, dead grass, it was the biggest billy goat, who was eating the grass, saying, "Meh, yuck, meh, disgusting, meh, puh, 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 puh." He saw the grass on the other side of the valley. He saw how green and luscious and moist it was, so down he went, diddly, 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 diddly. He came to the bottom of the valley, went across the bridge, trip, trap, trip, trap. Actually, he's a big goat. He didn't go trip, trap at all. He went trip, trap, trip, trap. And then he went up the other side of the valley. Diddly, 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 diddly. Oh, I've missed it out. Sorry, trip, trap. He woke up the troll, who came out and said, which is troll language. And it means, "I'm going to have to write to somebody about people crossing this bridge during the daytime. I need to get some sleep." But the billy goat said, "Oh, you want to eat me, do you? Well, on my head there are 2 hard, sharp horns, and they say you will not eat me, but I will butt you into the middle of next week." He took a step back, step back, step back, step back. And then down the hill he came, diddly, 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 and he used the hard, sharp horns on top of his head to butt the troll up into the air. The troll went up, out of the valley, over the hill, down the other side, where he fell splosh into a puddle. He shook himself off, and he looked back at where he'd come from sadly, and he said, "Ugh," which is troll language, and it means, "I don't even like goat meat." And that's my version of the 3 billy goats gruff. A little different to the traditional one, but hopefully a message in there for all of us. I think it's time for a story from England. So let's have a story from England. And this story is going to be about one of my favourite animals, the hedgehog. You got any hedgehogs near you, Louis? You got any hedgehogs? Okay. I haven't seen a hedgehog for years. When I was a child, we had hedgehogs in the garden all the time. For those of you who don't live in England, a hedgehog is a little animal about this big, and he has spikes sticking out of his back. And they eat slugs and snails. So they are the gardener's friend, but sadly we've lost most of our hedgehogs in this country now. But this is a very traditional English story about the hedgehog. And the hedgehog, well, he was getting a bit old. He knew that he didn't have many years left in him, but he was happy to snuffle around and find a slug, a snail, and just enjoy them when he found them. He was a simple hedgehog. He was a simple hedgehog and a happy hedgehog until one day he was snuffling around and he smelt a smell. The smell was the smell of sulphur. Now, sulphur is the smell that you get when an egg goes bad. I really don't like eggs. I don't eat eggs. I don't like the taste of eggs. I don't like the look of eggs. But when an egg goes bad, that is so much worse. But the smell of bad eggs is not always coming from eggs. The smell of bad eggs, the smell of sulphur, can come from the devil. And the hedgehog looked up and saw standing in front of him was the king of hell. It was the devil. And the devil looked down at the hedgehog and said, "Oh, hedgehog, hedgehog, it is time for you to come with me. Your life is over, and you will come with me down to hell." The hedgehog said, "That's not fair." He said, "I have been a very good hedgehog. I shouldn't have to go to hell. You can't take me to hell." And the devil said, "How dare you, hedgehog? I can take you where I wish. I am powerful. I am great. I am..." And the hedgehog said, "Oh, really? You think you're so good, do you? I'll tell you what. If you can prove to me you are better than me, you can take me down to hell. But otherwise, I stay here. I'll tell you what. You and I can have a race tonight. You see that ditch? Ditch is a long hole in the ground. You see that ditch? We will race each other in that ditch, up and down all night. And if you beat me, then you can take me down to hell. Agreed?" Now, I don't know about you, but I think probably the devil is more powerful than a hedgehog. A hedgehog is a small animal, and this was an old hedgehog too. So the devil could just play the game, because of course he was going to win. So he said, "Agreed! We start the race when the sun goes down tonight." So the sun went through the tops of the trees of the wood in which the hedgehog lived. And as the sun went down, the light turned orange and the shadows grew longer. And the hedgehog waited to start the race. And when the last ray of sunlight disappeared and the moon was giving her light, the devil appeared. And he said, "Are you ready, hedgehog?" And the hedgehog said, "I'm ready." So, ready for the race? Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go! The hedgehog started walking. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a hedgehog walk. They don't walk very quickly. In fact, we could call it plodding. So he plodded, plod, 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 plod. The devil ran past him. And as the devil ran past him, the devil said, "I'll run you out. I'll run you round to hell's red fire. I'll pull you down." the devil ran all the way along the ditch until he came to the end of the ditch, and there, waiting for him, was the hedgehog, who said, "You've taken your time, haven't you? Back the other way." So the hedgehog went off again. Plod, 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 plod. And the devil ran past him, shouting, "I'll run you out. I'll run you round to hell's red fire. I'll pull you down." And the devil ran all the way to the end of the ditch. And when he reached the end of the ditch, there was a hedgehog waiting for him, who said, "You've taken your time. Why are you so slow?" The devil said, "Rah!" And so he started running back again, with the hedgehog plod, plod, plod behind him. And as the devil ran, he shouted, "I'll run you out. I'll run you round till hell's red fire. I'll pull you down." But when he reached the end of the ditch, of course, there was the hedgehog. And this went on the whole of the night, as the moon went in her journey through the tops of the trees of the wood. The devil and the hedgehog raced all night. And every time the devil reached the end of the ditch, there was the hedgehog saying, "You're very slow, aren't you?" And every time the devil ran down the ditch, shouting, "I'll run you out. I'll run you round to hell's red fire. I'll pull you down." He'd find the hedgehog was still winning. And eventually, of course, the moon set and the first rays of sun appeared. And as the first rays of sun appeared and the devil arrived for one last time at the end of the ditch to find the hedgehog looking at him, and the hedgehog saying, "I think I win," the devil disappeared in a puff of smoke that smelt of bad eggs. The hedgehog, even though the race had gone on all night and he should be tired, just walked along the ditch. Not all the way, only halfway, because at halfway he was met by his brother, and the two of them laughed together, because the devil may be powerful and he may be fast, but it is very difficult even for the devil to spot the differences between two brother hedgehogs. Now, you'll probably recognize that story because it's like the hare and the tortoise, isn't it? Well, the hare and the tortoise, the version most people know is the one from Greece, but I often tell the story from South Africa, from the, I apologize for my pronunciation here, from the Xhosa people in South Africa, and that's the hare and the tortoise. It's a different version with the hare and the tortoise. But if we went to Brazil, it would be the tortoise versus the deer, not the hare. And if we go to Germany, it's the hare versus the hedgehog. And if you come to England, it's the hedgehog and the devil. The animals change all over the world, but the story stays very similar. So we have got 2 minutes left. So I'm going to do a final story from Zimbabwe. And this is a story about which is the greatest animal. It's another competition. Which one is the greatest? The rhino or the elephant? Louis? He's busy. The greatest is the rhino or the elephant? I wonder. What do you think?
The rhino.
You think the rhino's the greatest? I actually love elephants, but we need to find out how. So there had to be a competition between the rhino and the elephant. And the first competition was a race, like the devil and the hedgehog. But guess which one won? Who won, the rhino or the elephant? I'm guessing Louis is going to say the rhino because he thinks it's the greatest. Well, actually, the rhino did win, but then so did the elephant because they arrived at the same time and they both won the race. So that didn't work. So we still don't know which one's the greatest. So they had the next competition would be a singing competition to see which one could sing the most. Oh, no, neither of them could sing beautifully. So that was no good. Then they had an eating competition. So they ate lots and lots of vegetables. They ate lots of vegetables and lots of fruit. And no, they both ate the same amount of vegetables and fruit. We still don't know which is the great. If you eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruit, something has to happen. Because vegetables and fruit help the food pass through your body, don't they? They had a competition to see which of them could do the biggest pile of poo. So the elephant did his pile of poo, and the rhino did his pile of poo. And which one had the biggest pile of poo? No, they weren't the same. Rhino did the biggest pile of poo. So therefore, he was the greatest. And Elephant was angry. Elephant was so angry with Rhino, he used his hard tusks to charge into Rhino and hurt Rhino, so Rhino ran away from Elephant. And now if you go to southern Africa, to a place where there are elephants and there are rhinos, you will see elephant poo on the path. But you will never see rhino poo. Because Rhino knows that if Elephant sees his poo, he will become angry, knowing that Rhino is greater. So when Rhino does his poo, he always kicks it, and kicks it around so you can't see how much poo he's done. And that is the story of how a competition to see who could do the biggest pile of poo told us which was the greater animal, elephant or rhino. And that was my story of elephant and rhino. And those were my stories for people of all ages. And that was how I have told them to you. Thank you and good night. Is that all right, Louis? Oh, I got a thumbs up. That's all right then. Phew. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this. Sorry, I've forgotten your name. I do apologise.